Hi, I'm Brian Graham, and this is North County Talks. We've got a very special program for you this time. This is about, maybe you saw this in the paper. Last week in the UT, it said Oceanside Council air ambulance okayed, and it kind of got me thinking too, what does this mean? So what we have for you on North County Talks is some of the answers to the questions I came up with, and maybe you came up with us. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to Don Wharton. Don is Director of Business Development for Reach Air Medical Services. That's correct?
That is correct.
And the first question is, why does North County need another air ambulance?
Well, that's a good question. Of course, as a community-based service, we are, of course, in the air ambulance business. We do our due diligence and our homework, and we've identified that this portion of San Diego County has had a pretty robust demonstrated need over the years. And we feel we can come in and help augment the existing service that's been here and certainly benefit not just the city of Oceanside, but the entire North County area.
So you'll actually be serving if there's a call for Carlsbad or Vista, or it's not one of those things where, oh, gee, sorry, you're 15 feet outside of Oceanside.
Absolutely. One of the benefits of being able to fly as the crow flies, we're able to cover quite a bit of ground in a short period of time. So our footprint, if you will, is very much regional. So we can go out as far as really our fuel allows, which could be many, many miles outside of Oceanside.
Right. And throughout this program, we're going to be showing you some visuals of the Reach helicopter. By the way, it's like the elephant in the room. Here it is, the big red helicopter. Now, just before we had our meeting, I was walking across a parking lot, and I looked up and said, I don't recognize that helicopter, but this is it. This is kind of your signature.
It is, and it really is the star of the show, as it always is wherever we go. Reach has had a rich history of operating new equipment and helicopters painted as such, kind of bright red. Some of that is, you could see, kind of in partnership with a lot of our fire departments. They tend to like it because of the color.
And they've experimented with different colors, but we still keep coming back to red fire engines.
That is correct.
It's got a whole lot. I remember when we had white fire engines in Oceanside for about a week. Well, you know, we've got the helicopter right here. Let's kind of jump ahead. One of the problems that we had as a community years ago when we had our own police helicopter was that a lot of the residents complained about the noise of the helicopter. And reaching that, there's that word again, Reach Medical Services. How have you addressed with this particular aircraft the question about noise and how it impacts people that aren't depending upon the emergency service right then and there?
Absolutely, and we take that portion of our business as just as seriously as all aspects of our operation. Mm-hmm. And there's a term in aviation and helicopter aviation that we use of flying neighborly. We fly neighborly.
I like that.
Absolutely, and we do all of our procedures, our pilots, right on down to area familiarization, is so that we can follow the proper procedures to do all we can to keep the noise levels not only down. But I will point out in this helicopter, we do have this model here. It tends to be one of the more quiet helicopters in production today.
Well, it's got four blades, so I know that with my limited knowledge of aeronautics, I know that's got a part to why it's a quieter helicopter. What else about this particular model makes it so quiet? I think I see the answer to that question right there on the tail.
It sure is. It has a unique tail.
You want to turn that sideways so we can...
Absolutely. This tail section is pretty distinct, and I think those who do see this helicopter tend to remember this section of the helicopter the most. It appears to be shrouded, which it is, this tail rotor, which has this fast-spinning blades back here. That portion of the helicopter, because of its shrouded and the number of blades, tends to be very quiet, more of a kind of a fan sound. So it really does a lot to reduce that noise signature as this helicopter flies through the air.
Well, see, that's addressing another one of the concerns that the people of the community have demonstrated. And I think that's why you did get a 5-0 vote on the city council, which anybody that's been watching our city council for a while knows that's quite an accomplishment.
I'm very happy about that.
But you also addressed some of the needs that the council was bringing up in terms of who would do what for whom.
That is absolutely correct. Our initial proposal was to consider having fire department, fire paramedics on board the aircraft, more or less working in partnership with us. There were some concerns there, obviously, as long-term costs. So what we did is we've come back to the council where we are operating Reach Air Medical solely 100% with our own personnel. That includes the pilot, the flight nurse, the flight paramedic, as well as our entire management staff. And we've entered into a lease agreement with the city for a specific location that we look forward in the future to revealing. But along with that, we will work very collaboratively with the fire department as well as the city to bring this service to the region.
Well, especially if you're going to be getting into serving Carlsbad and Vista, I can understand why there might be some hesitancy to send one of our paramedics to another community. And take them out of ours.
It's important to point out that many of our cities and jurisdictions actually do work very closely together. So not so much that as I think the primary concern with the council were more of the longer term liabilities that could come with employees. Mm-hmm. So we hope that we certainly address that with this.
Well, we've got a beautiful little helicopter here. And I think everybody has a kind of an idea that if there is some type of event, it could be an automobile accident, it could be a medical emergency situation, though that's quite obvious of why this helicopter would be involved. What else, what other kind of services does Reach provide?
Certainly, Brian, it's real important to point out, obviously our primary mission is to transport those critically injured and ill patients. And one point of fact, just to kind of add on to that, is what makes the north part of the county unique is obviously the traffic, or I should say the traffic congestion, even on the weekends. So
especially on the weekends.
Especially on the weekends, yeah. And we have a saying in our business: time is certainly of the essence. Time is tissue, time is muscle, as clinicians will tell you. So this service becomes very, very essential to a community like Oceanside. In addition, we do provide other services that many people don't know about, such as educational opportunities for our neighboring clinical hospital personnel, for example, fire department personnel. We provide specific trainings for that, on whether it be on an annual basis or on a collaborative basis, because they're required to have continuing education as part of their professional development. So Reach is very involved in that, which is one of the unique aspects of our business.
All right, so when we have somebody that's already been transported to the, say, a hospital, you also can get involved later on if there's a second stage of care that's required. Do I understand that you sometimes get involved with transporting from hospital to hospital for specific instances?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think what you're asking is an excellent question, because many people don't know. Most people see us perhaps on the news from the scene of an accident, right. a traffic collision, where a majority of our work in our industry takes place between hospital and hospitals. We call those interfacility transfers, where we take sick patients from one hospital typically to higher level of care. And communities such as Oceanside, including even my hometown, we have maybe smaller community-type hospitals that may not have the services available and therefore necessitate a transfer. So that is what one of the things that in our industry that we do almost on a daily basis, and get them from hospital to hospital. Here
we have the second level of service, and that's where our next guest, he's sitting quietly through this whole thing, comes in. We have Matt Lucky, who's one of the pilots. Matt, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's so good to have you. Now, you are local.
I am.
You didn't get shipped in from Arizona or something like that. You're actually a resident of Oceanside.
Absolutely. I'm a resident of Oceanside. This is my local air medical service provider. It's going to provide service to myself and 3 generations of my family that live here. That's
absolutely you were Marine Corps?
I am. I'm a retired United States Marine.
And you flew helicopters, obviously?
Absolutely. I came to aviation while a Marine.
So, as a pilot, when you're moving patients around or you're involved with a transport, what is your response? Are you solely looking right out the windshield and at the gauges, or are you involved in the care somehow?
Well, I'm principally involved in safe transportation of the patient. I like to do what we say is bring the highly trained flight crew, the flight nurse, and the flight paramedic to the scene of an accident or to a hospital to deliver them to the patient's point of what I call maximum need, and to safely transport that patient and that flight crew to the next level of care.
So as a pilot, then what would you say, a pilot, not just a helicopter pilot, but the pilot of a flying medical facility, what would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
Well, the most challenging part of my job is really the time-critical risk management skills that you have to bring to the table. You have to take into account weather that may be changing, especially in our area, low ceilings and visibility. You have to take into account the fuel and the range of the helicopter and the weight of the patient. And you have to do that really at a moment's notice, because we obviously don't have pre-planned flight training for the moment an accident
the weight of the patient.
might take place. Yes, and everything in aviation with regard to weight is a trade-off between fuel and range and capability. So there's a lot of variables to deal with, and you have to deal with them in our industry on a very shortened and compressed time frame. And so that's the most challenging portion of it.
Do you have a story that you'd like, a quick story about an event that you've done as a pilot with in the air ambulance capacity?
Well, I think of one story that encapsulates what it means to be a air medical pilot. Launching at dusk to a motor vehicle accident, and really dusk being, from our training, we know one of the most difficult times to fly, but with a highly trained flight crew, highly experienced, and with the training that Reach Air Medical Service provides us, able to effect a safe landing. Actually, this was out in the dunes at Glamis, which is a hazardous place to operate.
Lots of our people go out there.
And going out there and finding out that our patient was not only in a trauma situation, but a severely burned victim. So at the time, we had to change hospitals. We had to transport the patient over 100 miles to the nearest burn center, and then had to transport into the night environment. And so utilizing the training that we're provided, the night vision goggle technology that our company's invested in, we were able to deliver that patient to the critical care that they needed. And what makes it really special to me is myself and that same crew, about 120 days later, were at the same hospital. And we were able to see that same patient on the day before he was discharged. And so that really showed me that what we're doing, bringing a critical care to a patient at the point of maximum need and then transporting them to that next higher level of care, it was a very moving moment to show me really what it is we're doing.
Wow. Well, if you came in the middle of this discussion, you perhaps don't know what's going on here. This is North County Talks. And if you'd like to see the whole program, maybe you missed it, you can always go to koct.org and click on the video on demand. This program, in fact, all of the programs out of KOCT are right there on your computer, your smartphone, your tablet. And if you want to stay connected to your community, stay tuned to KOCT. This is the source. This is the place for North County and the Oceanside channels. When we come back, we're going to have one of the flight nurses talking about her experience, and we'll find out more about Reach Air Ambulance Services. Stay with us on KOCT.
2 years ago, I used a call box and received great help. Now I can make a simple call to 511 for the same service.
Welcome to 511.
Roadside assistance.
Dial 511 for non-emergency roadside assistance on San Diego freeways and highways.
Wash with full loads only. Even if your machine has adjustable load settings, the most efficient way to do your laundry is in full loads. By doing this, you can save 1,000 gallons a month. Pre-treat stains to avoid rewashing. Of course, the best thing to do in your laundry room is to purchase a high-efficiency washer and dryer. Your local utility company might be offering rebates towards the purchase of a new washer and dryer, so go to their website and take a look.
May I walk you across the street?
Thanks. Fruit. What a tasty treat. Fruits packed with potassium and other nutrients can help keep your heart pumping strong during the game. And they give you energy back so you can take on the next activity. Can your food do that? Run, throw, think, eat better. Find out more at smallstep.gov.
Excuse me, madam, but have you seen KOCT Oceanside Community Television?
No, why?
KOCT is unique among the galaxy of TV channels you see. Non-commercial, non-bias, grassroots issues that concern you and all fellow citizens. Programming for young and old.
Really? How do I find out more about KOCT and all its programs?
You can watch channels 18 and 19 on the tube, or visit the website at koct.org on your computer.
Thanks, KOCT, man!
All in a day's work. Serving the community since 1984. KOCT.
And welcome back to North County Talks. I'm Brian Graham. We've been having a wonderful discussion with the people that are involved in the new air ambulance service that's now come online here in Oceanside. This beautiful red helicopter, when you see it going over, you say, I know about that. That's REACH, huh? Well, the heartbeat of this whole thing will, of course, be the medical care that you get if you happen to find yourself or a loved one involved in transport on REACH. So with us is Hillary Comeau. Is close enough, Hillary?
That's perfect.
Hillary, you are a flight nurse on REACH.
That is correct.
That's got to be all kinds of cool.
It is.
But your background is not, I mean, you didn't grow up on helicopters through your nurse's training. What is your background?
Primarily ER. I graduated nursing school, went straight into the emergency room, and did kind of all the things you can do in an ER. I was a MICN, which is a radio nurse that we actually contact when we're transporting patients, to charge nurse, to everything, and everybody kind of coveted the flight nurse's jobs, so I went for it.
Really?
Absolutely.
What about being a flight nurse attracts you like that?
It's cool.
Well,
Who doesn't
I've seen
want to
that
fly around
already.
in a
Give me
helicopter?
something new.
Well, it kind of brings the aspect, especially for emergency room nurses, of the more, the before the emergency room portion of things, the accident scene, or the more exciting kind of cases that we sick ER nurses look forward to. And also, you get to take care of the sick patients, the real sick patients that have to go from one facility to the next to get that higher level of care that might not be offered in every community. And it's just really nice to be able to see that go through. And then also the one-to-one care is also extremely gratifying as a nurse, to be able to just take care of one particular patient.
Would a patient in being transported by REACH get the same level of care as they might if they were in the back of an ambulance on the roads?
I feel that they actually would get more, or have the potential to get more care, because we are used to transferring those critical patients. So the items we do carry in the helicopter with us are for those extra sick people. We can do the medications we have on board and the equipment we have on board. We can really take care of extremely sick people that extend past just the trauma patient, if that makes any sense at all.
Well, I think it does. I think it really fills in the gap. So
flying ICU.
Exactly. It's a flying ICU. There you go.
And
that's big.
That helps me get my mind around it.
Right.
It's a flying ICU.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
So what then would you think to be the most rewarding part of your experience as a flight nurse, as differentiated from the rewards of being an ER room?
Sure. I think being able to take care of, like I said, just one patient is extremely rewarding, because as an ER nurse, you're spread extremely thin, taking care of 3, 4, sometimes 5 patients. So you get to do that one-to-one care. Also, you have the follow-up portion where you can, actually call either the hospital or even sometimes call the patient directly and see how they're doing, or see what became of their situation. Just the other night, we transferred a patient from one hospital to the next, and his daughter was at the sending hospital and was extremely concerned about her father, naturally. So I made sure to take down her number and call her when we got to the receiving hospital and just let her know, hey, your dad's good. He's in good hands. We turned over care. He slept the whole flight. Everything was as good as it could possibly be. And she was able to sleep that night because of that simple little phone call that took me 30 seconds. So that, to me,
it's the
was
personalized care.
Absolutely.
Because you are working one-on-one.
Exactly.
Would you recommend this kind of career path for somebody else that is looking at nursing?
I would, but I'm also one that likes to jump out of planes and do all sorts of weird stuff. So
I guess you that is one of the prerequisites of being able to climb in and put on your medical mind.
Sure.
Is to do it. So it does take a very specialized kind of person.
I like to think so.
Yeah. Well,
For the record, us pilots do not like to jump out of planes nor helicopters.
well, they're perfectly good airplanes. Yes, we're going to get to that question about you being a pilot too, Don.
But from a nursing standpoint, it's absolutely very rewarding, and I would definitely recommend those that like the more critical side of nursing to explore it, because it is something that I've found to be extremely rewarding, and I get to challenge myself on a regular basis, which I enjoy.
And you get to see the outcome more intimately.
And the view from the office is kind of awesome.
Isn't that got to be a case? What is your favorite part of being up there?
Oh, that's not fair.
I didn't say it was
being
going to
up
be
there
fair.
with a patient or without a patient.
Well, let's say with the patient. Yeah.
I'd say with the patient is absolutely being able to provide that excellent care, which the company has absolutely put their foundation on, is delivering the best possible patient care to the patient. And I absolutely enjoy being a part of that, 100%.
So here is another face of REACH. This is and I think one of the things we talked about, Don, was showing the people of Oceanside that this is people. Yes. These are people with passions.
Absolutely.
But what comes back to me is this has got to be expensive. Please, you got this helicopter, you got these highly trained people that are doing this work. How is somebody going to afford this?
Absolutely, and I think it's worth saying and noting that outside of some of the questions and answers that we've shared here today, that's one of the more popular questions about cost. And
I don't see it as being popular, Don.
Well, that's a very good point.
Maybe one of the more salient points.
Salient and certainly asked quite often, but it's certainly an expensive proposition. As a matter of fact, healthcare in general, as we all know in this country, a hot topic is expensive.
Sure.
Most of us, if we do pay a visit to the emergency room, have no idea what our bill may wind up being, depending on the care that's administered. But what would be could be potentially tens of thousands of dollars for an air transport. REACH is almost a decade ago answered that with a very unique program. A membership program named REACH for Life. And what REACH for Life is, it operates a little bit like a AAA membership, where you join for $65, which is an annual, fairly nominal fee. That $65 once a year covers the entire household, the family. And should you end up being transported by a REACH helicopter, you have absolutely no out-of-pocket expense. So it really takes care of that concern.
So wherever my insurance ends, and that would be out of pocket, this $65
a year
yes. For the whole family.
For the whole family
would pick that up. And of course, we go into this hoping that nobody's ever really going to have to experience this.
Absolutely. I always have to say, in the unfortunate situation that you do actually end up on a transport with one of our helicopters, right. But we certainly want to make sure that the billing portion is not the part that people worry about. It's really patient outcome.
And we're going to do a real quick story in a little bit about somebody that has been transported. And I know that both you and I have had the experience of family members being in it. And I know from a fact that when I was watching that helicopter land to take my son to the hospital, my concern was not, what is this going to cost? It was, please do what has to be done. And didn't you tell me that was part of the company motto?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, our mission statement that Hillary touched on is always to do what's right for the patient. In our business model, the decisions we make operate on that whole basis. So we make decisions based on patient outcome, based on our customers, our partners, our hospitals, our community. So it's certainly something that not only we espouse, but we live that on a daily basis, is always do what's right.
Let's put a personal face on this. Right now, we have a video of somebody that was actually a patient for REACH, and we're going to hear what she has to say about it. So let's cut away, and we'll be right back on North County Talks.
My name is Heidi Rodriguez. I'm a high school teacher in El Centro, California. A little over 2 years ago, I was in what should have been a fatal car collision. And the reason I'm standing here today, and what I think is in great health, is because I was helicoptered from the scene of the accident to the nearest trauma center in Palm Springs. As I said, I live in El Centro, California, which is a very remote area. Where the accident happened was actually outside of the city limits, and it would have taken about 8 to 10 minutes just to take me to a hospital. Hospitals that really didn't have the ability to respond to the injuries that I had sustained. But Reach Helicopter picked me up at the site of the accident and had me within minutes to Desert Regional Medical Center. The surgeon told me when I came out of a coma a little less than a month later that it was because I was taken there so quickly that he was able to save me from going into cardiac arrest. My lungs had burst, had collapsed, and my spleen had also collapsed. So I was bleeding to death. I didn't have any oxygen. And additionally, because I was able to get there quickly enough, and Reach was able to keep me, give me oxygen while I was being transported, I didn't lose my brain function. So I'm incredibly grateful to Reach. The fact that they were there, responded immediately, responded at the site, and I'm very happy to hear that they're going to Oceanside. Even though you are a bigger city than we are, that also has its complications because you have traffic issues, and so while you may be closer to the nearest trauma center, it may take longer to get there. Being helicoptered to from an accident scene to the hospital can, time is of the essence, and those minutes, those seconds can save your life.
We're back on North County Talks on KOCT, and again, Dawn, we've covered a whole lot of stuff here in the last few minutes. Is there anything else that we've left out that you wanted to highlight?
Sure. Actually, I would certainly like to mention that Reach Air Medical's history actually began in 1987 through our founder, Dr. John McDonald, up in Santa Rosa, California, just north of the Bay there. And some of what we've touched on a little bit earlier about what we feel that we hold very that we value in patient care also translates a lot of ways through Dr. McDonald's vision when he started the company, which was to stay patient-focused, but just as well community-focused.
Do what's right for the patient. So
Absolutely.
We're going to be seeing you at community events. We're going to see the red helicopter.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A lot of places, and people can contact you.
That's the thing I want to get out there, is I was just sharing Dr. McDonald's history there, is that anybody in the community, organizations, service clubs, Boys and Girls Club, Girl Scouts, you name it. We even do the career day circuit, if you will,
Very
with the
good.
schools. So.
All right, so it's a very personal service.
Absolutely.
Reach Air Medical Services, part of Oceanside and North County. Thank you for being with us on North County Talks. I'm Brian Graham. We'll see you next time.